Hey, what's up? It's Never the Chess here, and I just wanted to make a little video on how to defend against basically early queen attacks, which is mostly just the scholar's mate, but at least at the lower levels. So the first thing to know is don't be afraid and don't even start defending it until the queen actually comes out and threatens an attack. If you get to a position like this, and the bishop comes out, there's no need for you to stress out and start trying to defend this prematurely. Against a queen attack, because the queen's not out yet. The f7 square, which is generally the square they want to target, is not actually under attack. So you can play whatever you want here. You could play, you could play that, or you could play that, or you could play, knight c6. You can play whatever you want for your second move. If the queen hasn't came out and actually started an attack, you don't have to worry about it. That's the very first thing against early queen attacks, is don't get scared if the queen's not even there. Don't start defending against a queen attack that hasn't happened. So let's say we play a move like this. This actually stops the queen off the bat. So that's a safe second move if the bishop's out first. You can play, like, it stops the queen from doing that. And if the queen moves here to try and hit here, well, it's still blocked. So that's a solid second move. It's also just a good developing move because it hits this one anyway. Hits their e4 square. What if we played something different though? What if we played something like that? That doesn't defend against anything, because if we'd played knight to c6, we'd be defending this pawn. The queen does like to come here and then come and take this pawn, which you can't do now anyway because that's there. But what if the queen comes out now? Now the queen is out and the opponent is threatening a checkmate on f7. So now that the queen is out, we want to defend against the queen. A mistake here would be to pull out your knight. The knight would attack the queen if the queen stayed on this square, but the queen won't stay on the square. She'll hit there, like we'll just see here, and then that's a checkmate. That's the end of the game. So the knight's wrong. Now that the queen is out, you want to defend the queen. g6. It attacks the queen. The queen can't come here because of this, and that's the end of that attack. Let's go back a few spots. What if the queen comes out first? What if the queen comes out here? And the opponent immediately starts with the queen. Well, what the opponent is actually threatening is not this mate immediately. What's hanging right now is this pawn on e5. That's what's hanging. So your first thing that you should do is defend this pawn. The way you defend this is to pull your knight out to c6. Don't panic and try to defend against this too early. The reason is, if you pull out g6 here to threaten this, the queen actually just moves over here and checks you. Not only does she check you, forcing you to pull out your queen or your bishop, but the queen comes and takes your rook. So you can't stress out. So let's say we're back to this position and you decide to pull your knight out. Now the knight does target this, it does target the queen, and it does target the pawn. But the queen's next move will be e5, and she takes your pawn for free, delivers a check, and now you're in an awkward spot where you have to defend with the bishop or the queen, and the queen's in the center of the board. So we go back here. The move against this, queen h5, getting up in your grill. Yes, it's threatening an f7 mate if the bishop was out, but the bishop's not out yet. So the first thing to do is to go knight c6. Now the queen cannot play this move. If the queen was to play this move, she gets taken by your knight. So now that we've played a move and defended the hanging pawn, what if the opponent pulls out the bishop? Now the opponent is threatening a mate on f7 with their next move. It's a very, very dangerous square, and it's the square that really all new players, myself included, need to keep in mind all of the time. At least in the openings, it's a very dangerous square. It's the same for the f2 square for white. It's your kingside's bishop's pawn. That's dangerous because it's got no protection besides the king. On the other side, it's actually protected by the queen, but not on the king side. It's just the king. So what if they pull out the bishop? Now they are threatening this mate. Sorry about that, Aaron. Now they are actually threatening a mate on f7. Well, now you want to kick the queen. You can't pull out the knight because, as we saw before, you still lose. Checkmate. You need to defend here. Now, generally what players will do, newer players, if they insist on trying to get this checkmate, is they will pull their queen back to f3, because now they're still actually threatening this checkmate. They still have the attack from the bishop, the protection from the bishop, and the attack from the queen. And this position is still only defended by the king, so it's just checkmated. He can't retake because he'd been moving into the bishop's check. The move here is to block the queen's line of sight on that pawn, on the f7 pawn, a very dangerous f7 pawn, with the knight. Once you reach this position, you've actually managed to get a pawn into the center of the board. You have both of your knights out, and your black is in a good position. They're ready to attack. White has pulled their queen out early. They have their bishop that's currently undefended, and black is in a good position. It's actually, after you play this move, black is actually favored slightly for the game. So that's how to defend against early queen attacks. I'll just run through it one more time. So e4, e5, and now if the queen comes out immediately, which is what we're looking to learn in this video, is actual queen attacks. There's no point defending against a queen attack if the bishop comes out, because the queen's not out yet. The main thing to keep in mind is don't get scared. When that comes out, don't get scared and start to defend against the queen if it's not there. So now we're here. We actually want to defend this pawn. Knight to c6 defends this pawn, preventing the queen from taking your hanging pawn. Now, if the bishop comes out, you do want to block it with g6. Bishop comes out, you block and protect your f7 square. Protecting the f7 square is what it's all about now that the queen is actually out. If you'll notice, when the queen first comes out, we're defending this one. As soon as there's an actual threat, bishop c4, now we're actually protecting the f7 square from the mate. So we play g6, which hits the queen, kicks the queen. Queen moves down here. Knight to f6 blocks the attack. So once the queen's here and there's an actual mate threat, once the queen is here and there is a mate threat now that the bishop is out, what we want to do is protect f7. You want to protect the square by putting pieces in front of the queen. That's literally the defense. Both of those moves, g6 puts a piece in front of the queen. The queen moves down, so put the knight in front of the queen. That's all there is to it, to defending against early queen attacks. Early queen attacks that are supported with the bishop. That's it from me. You can catch me on Twitch on twitch.tv/neverthechess. Until next time, I'll see you later.